I don't know if this is working at all. Anybody going to join us? I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know.
Something's wrong. I think we might need to start this whole thing over. I'm not sure what we did, but there was no music playing. So this may not be working. Hey, can you hear us? I think somebody jumped in, so I don't know if we're even on. And I apologize for this because it's looking like... Hey,
London,
what's up?
Hey,
can you hear us, London? Just let us know if we're coming through because I didn't hear the intro when I pushed play, so I'm not sure if it's working. Let me type something. Okay. Let's try that. Okay, loud and clear. So I've been talking for about a minute and a half and the show's live. So that just shows our dedication and professionalism for sticking with it. We could have bailed. We could have left the live and started this all over, but being the consummate professionals that we are, we can't get it right from week to week, but hey, we're here and I appreciate you joining us. So good evening. And
happy to see you, London.
Yeah, good to see you. And it is Monday, July 21st, 2025. Welcome to episode 118 of Porterhouse and Teal Live. And it's pretty hard to believe, but we are actually 1 month since the summer solstice, Rebecca.
Mm-hmm.
And we have been losing here in this latitude, about 42. Our latitude here in Northern California is about 42 degrees. And we've been losing approximately a minute and a half of daylight per day. So roughly 45 minutes of daylight we've lost since a month ago when I ran Bighorn 100. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy, but I did notice that, it was kind of overcast today, so it did seem a little darker today.
Yeah. I think we're going to start seeing that moving forward, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that as we move into tonight's episode. I wanted to mention the shoulder season, but before we get to that, how are you doing?
I am doing better than I was from Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday was a rough day for you.
Tuesday was a rough day.
How so?
That is the day that I had the surgery on both my hands,
mm-hmm.
and I kind of thought that they would just give me the medication that gives you amnesia, but you're still awake,
mm-hmm.
where they can ask you questions or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But they put me completely out, and when I'm talking out, I was out.
How would you know? How do you know they didn't give you that other medication?
Well, because when I was coming to,
yeah,
usually you respond a lot quicker.
Yeah.
You come out of it a lot faster.
Yeah, you were out of it.
But
I came to see Rebecca in the recovery room and help her through that transitional period. And I opened the curtain and looked at her, and I was unaware that they were actually going to be putting you out as well. That was a surprise to me. But when I saw you, you looked like what I would imagine a dead person to look like. You were literally green. And I was like, holy shit, what did they do to you? But thankfully we got through it. And it's been a week of you rehabbing your hands.
Mm-hmm.
How's it feeling?
They are getting there.
Mm-hmm.
They're still a little tender. I tend to kind of want to overuse them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I still have the stitches in. They will come out a week from today, actually.
Nice.
And that would be nice.
Yeah. Well, they look like they hurt. Why don't you hold them up there? Hold them up real nice and close. Get up close so people can see that. Look at that scar. That's pretty cool. Scars are cool.
Yeah.
That's what they say. Chicks dig scars. Terminator's in the house. How are you doing? Good evening to you. Thanks for joining us. And London, the new driving machine. It is amazing. Would you not say, Rebecca, the Tesla?
Our grandson, I think we said this last week, but our grandson asked me if we were flying.
If we were flying. No, it's super cool. I look forward to going places in it and just enjoying the ride because it's doing all the work. And it's just nice when you have to sit somewhere for any amount of time. I mean, you've got the whole theater in there. You can just pull up YouTube or whatever you want and watch videos. You can listen to podcasts.
That's not true.
Stuff.
You could watch videos if you're sitting in the back seat. You can listen to podcasts.
Oh, that's if you're driving. I said if you're happy, if you're just kicking it, if you have to kill some time, you can pull up the theater and watch movies or whatever. If you have Netflix, a subscription to any of those paid services, it's just amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're going to camp in it and you were tucked in for the night, you could definitely plug into a movie and watch that.
Yeah, it'd be super convenient in that way. And it's not all about technology, but it kind of is all about technology with those cars. I mean, it's like you get in and it just sets the temperature to whatever you want it to be. Mm-hmm. You don't park the damn thing. I mean, well, you do. You hit park, but you don't physically put on a parking brake or any of the things that you're typically used to doing.
Unless you're parking diagonally, which it does not do. So you got to park that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just talking about it's just amazing. So anyhow, thanks for joining us. And if you're joining us on the live stream, welcome. And if you happen to catch this on the rebroadcast, welcome to you as well. I don't know how people tend to consume this content. Mostly, I believe it's via YouTube, but we do have a number of people that watch us or listening to us over on Spotify. So
they'll get to enjoy my Frankenstein hands. Yeah.
Those of you who actually want to see something, YouTube is the preferred method or platform. But anyhow. DHT's in the house. Thank you for joining us, DHT. Good to see you this evening.
Yes, hello.
Yeah. So as I was saying, mid-August is probably when we will be transitioning into shoulder season. So that's like another month away, right?
Yeah, it's not too far away.
Yeah. So one more month and we'll be kind of hitting that season where we're not quite into winter, but we're trending that way. We're going to start seeing a lot more days where there's some cooler temperatures and the days will be noticeably less daylight come a month from now. And so, I always think about trying to stay ahead of certain things as a preparedness minded person. There's things that need to be done that I can visually see. And then there's those things that are just those recurring things that every year it's a good idea to make sure you've got, a handle on. One of those things is like your heating systems. And I've talked about that before here, number of times. It's important to make and set yourself up so that you're going to be comfortable when things, go awry. And so making sure that your domicile, your home is able to be heated during that period is very important, especially if you live in an area where it's not like us. We don't deal with extreme temperatures, but, places that actually do get a hard winter, I'm sure they're a lot more in tune to it than are we, but it's still a concern that, why is this thing doing that? It's still a concern of ours as well. And so we've actually got the HVAC people coming out next week to deal with our heaters and stuff like that and go through our water heater and just kind of do a check.
The plumbing guys will come out and they'll just double check, make sure all of the plumbing's working. We have a filter that kind of filters because we get a lot of dirt being on the well.
Yeah. Well, they'll change that, but
so they'll clean all that out and everything else. And they'll also do the hot water heater, clean that and make sure it's up, it's running top notch.
Right.
So that's really nice.
Yeah. So that's just something that we do and we pay for, it's easily, a lot of that stuff's can be done by the homeowner, but we just decide that, hey, this is something that we'll have them come in and do their thing. We'll pay them a little fee, and then we'll be good to go for the winter. But we've already had the HVAC people come in and deal with that as well. Along with that, we're going to have to buy some wood. And so I'm not
from our favorite guys.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much that's gonna be as far as like how much we'll get, but that's something that we're going to start thinking about this time of year.
Mm-hmm. We usually get 2 cords. Correct. We have some wood that's kind of left over. We don't exactly go all the way through 2 cords.
No,
but it's nice to have a backup in the event that something happens. I mean, like the one year where power was out, trees went down. We had trees across the driveway, which is not very typical for us. We actually had snow. That's unusual.
Yeah, I've generally got 2 cords in backup reserve. We never go through, and so it'll be probably this time. Once we get into that shoulder season, we'll need to order probably another couple cords is what I was looking at. So that's just something that has to happen. Hogs 14, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us. And Terminator has been out picking wild hazelnuts. How cool is that? How cool is that? Anything
So how do they differ from actual hazelnuts?
I would suspect they don't differ at all.
Well, they might have a better taste. I don't know.
That's true. That's true. They could taste somewhat different than the stuff you might get in a store. But if it's a hazelnut, I'm sure it's a hazelnut. And there's probably different, strains or cultivars or what have you that might give it a different flavor. But I can't speak to that. Maybe Terminator can chime in. But
yes.
Another thing I got to do, and this is something that, it's just an ongoing thing, is not only clean the gutters out, but make sure that they're ready. I've got a couple of them that need some repair. So I'm going to be getting up and dealing with that prior to, the winter coming. Another thing is chimney, right? You want to sweep your chimney before you start burning, right? That's something that we in the fire service have dealt with historically. Generally speaking, people get that first fire going and they get a hot one going or whatnot. And then next thing you know, you've got chimney fires. And sometimes it's not just confined to the flue, it gets extension into the attic, and then you're dealing with an attic fire. So it is something that I do, and it's something that needs to be done on a regular basis annually. You can get away with it. You can burn it for several years and never have a problem. But when you have that problem,
you got a problem.
You got a problem, and you're going to wish that you had a thought about it.
The other that you're pretty good about is keeping the gutters clean.
Yeah. I do that.
And in working order.
I do that around here for fire season, just because I know that any embers, if there was a fire around, it would come and land in the gutters. And then I've seen houses literally burn. Just
but you usually do it when it's raining too, to make sure that it's not all clogged up and that they're flowing efficiently.
Oh yeah. Another thing to have on hand that I always have on hand, but I thought I'd mention it in the context of this discussion, is like frost blankets, right? Making sure that we use quilts, some of the old quilts and stuff that I've taken from Rebecca and she doesn't need anymore. I use it to, wrap the well or something like that. Or if you have tender plants that you're trying to get started for your winter garden, you're going to need some way to deal with, hard frost that comes unexpectedly. So, old quilts, or they sell those moving blankets at like Harbor Freight. Those are super good for that. Just stuff like that to kind of keep yourself ahead of the game as we head into winter, right?
So I'd say we're pretty good about repurposing things. So as the quilts kind of get worn, maybe threads are coming out or they've got a little bit of tear or whatnot, they go out to Eric, and he keeps those in the shop or in the garage and is able to use those on items outside.
Right.
Until they are no longer good.
Yeah. Try not to let things go to waste. Terminator says that she eats them green and they have a fresh hazelnut taste, and she's going to dry some too. That sounds pretty good, man. I do like hazelnuts. We don't have anything like that growing around here wild.
Yeah.
At least not that I'm aware of. I've never seen anything like that in this area, but I love hazelnuts. They're tasty. So that's cool.
Absolutely.
Yep. Another thing too that I want to make sure that we have plenty of, because I did use some of this, and for a project that I had going on, and I want to make sure that I always have this on hand leading into winter. And this is something that's definitely good to check during your shoulder season, is making sure that you have ample amount of tarps, right? So you'll be able to cover something up, or if you, have like shingles blow off your roof or something like that, where you're in a storm and you need to put out some visqueen or something to keep something from leaking into your house. Good to have that on hand before it's like in the middle of the night and you're out there with nothing.
Yeah, that happened to our neighbor across the street. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. I do.
They had a branch that came off and fell right smack.
Yeah, well, there's really nothing that a tarp is going to do for a big old 200-year-old oak tree that's laying on top of it. But nonetheless, I get what you're saying, and it's just important to have stuff like that on hand. And I need to make sure that I've got what I need leading into winter. Another thing too is like any kind of a sealant, like a roof sealant. Mm-hmm. That's like Henry's is a really good like wet patch that you can, I prefer the stuff that you can actually they have in caulk tubes. And so you can just take a caulking gun and use that stuff. But I mean, you can lay that down when it's raining and it's going to seal some stuff up. So making sure you got stuff like that on hand. And then I guess finally is just having some sort of backup lighting, which is always very important no matter the season. But as power outages and things like that are going to be a lot more likely in the wintertime, it's probably a good idea that you have some kind of backup lighting, multiple sources, preferably something that's portable and non-fire starting. I'm just not a big fan of candles.
Although we do have our share of candles in the event that they need to be used.
Yeah, she likes burning candles because, it smells good and everything. And that's, I guess, cool until it's not cool, until somebody like has something that knocks over that's flammable next to a candle. But I just prefer to not do that, particularly like during a storm. But, you got to do what you got to do. If you're running around your house with candles, then that's what you got. Mm-hmm.
Well, we also have ones that look like candles, but they're battery operated.
Yeah, right. And this is something that it's not something that we need to like make sure we have in the shoulder season, because we primarily have a pretty good supply of this year round because we go through this. But just what we do is we've got a bin that has all of the batteries that we might use. And so mostly AAA, AA, and 9 volt. And then those little CR 2032s or CR 2036s or whatever, the ones that go in the smoke detector, the little round flat ones. Mm-hmm. We keep those on hand. And so it's really nice and convenient, because how often do you need a battery for something? And you don't want to have to be running to the store to get that. And that's just prepper stuff 101. Energy is very important, right?
Yeah, it's pretty easy to overlook those as well, because you don't use them that often. So you don't think about them until you absolutely need them.
Yeah.
So it's good to have them on hand.
Yeah. Well, I said lastly, but that's not really the last thing that I was going to mention. I think it's also important is making sure that you've got seeds for, growing food. Mm-hmm. I know that like a lot of folks in the prepper sphere, they get these seed banks that has all different types of seeds in it. And I think that's fantastic. But, you have to know how to grow the stuff. You can't just get this seed vault and have 14,000 seeds that you hope is going to be good in 5 years when shit goes down and you're like, oh, I guess I can grow some stuff because I got this seed vault that I got and I bought off some website or from some person years ago, but you really haven't practiced with it. And so it's just, if you're a gardener, you're going to kind of know how to do these things. But I know that there's people who are trying to get their preps up, but seeds are a very important thing to get, because it's nice to be able to grow some food, right?
It's very nice.
Yeah.
I would say you're the better at it. I myself have not given. Inside, I can grow things. Outside, I have not really given my hand at. So
Yeah. So along with the seeds, you don't just get seeds and have the seeds. You need to have some soil to put it in, right? So in some way have potting soil or some kind of soil that you can blend up with some compost. And then you're going to obviously need some containers. So like those 4-inch pots, the little ones you can get at any nursery when you buy something, stockpile that sort of thing and have some of those on hand so that you can grow your own stuff. You can do your own seed starts. And I know Terminator, who's listening, she's all over this. She she grows her own stuff and she's got all of this kind of stuff. Most people who are gardeners do. They glom on to what they might get when they pick up a 6-pack of vegetables. They don't just generally throw those away. I mean, I throw them away at this point because I've got so many of them and I'm not utilizing them, but I've got plenty that if I want to do my own seed starts, which I occasionally do for certain things, then I'm good to go. I've got soil. I've got some kind of a containment vessel to plant the seeds in and then have the ability to possibly, this isn't something that you absolutely need to have, but think about having those heat mats. I've got a number of those for doing my seed starts. And plus I've got the little humidity domes that go over the top. It just makes your seed starting a lot quicker and easier. And you're going to be more successful in that regard. But the only way that you're going to know is to go and to do this sort of stuff. Do it with some form of regularity where you get good at it. And then when shit does go down, you don't have to go, oh, I've got this seed bank out in the garage in a tote. I bought it like 5 years ago. And now let me go grow some stuff, right? It's just not going to work that well, So it's just one of those things I think that going into winter, always be looking at making sure you've got that as well. We grow generally throughout the seasons here. It's not just like we just have a summer garden. We have a garden generally year round. And so it's just good to make sure that you've bought the things that you're going to want to eat.
I remember when you first experimented with that, and we had bought the shelving. And of course, at this point, we have empty bedrooms because our kids are grown up and had gotten all of the stuff. And it was kind of exciting as things grew. There were things that didn't do as well, but a lot of it did really well.
Yeah.
And that was nice because you could take it then and transfer it outside. And
Yep. Yeah. Well, one of the things, it's one of the things I always look at here on our property is trying to balance. Are we preparing? Are we preppers, or are we becoming hoarders? And I think it's pretty easy to become over exuberant on stockpiling things that you believe that you might need. And that's just the question I kind of always have to remind myself of, because when you have a place, things show up. And then next thing you know, you've got all kinds of stuff leaning up against a shed or building or tucked in a place or whatever. And years can go by and you don't even realize it's there. And so, that's fine, but that's a lot of stuff. And I think we can all say that we probably have a lot of stuff.
it grows. It grows when you're not watching.
It definitely seems that way.
I know that when we first bought this house, we were in a much smaller house, but anyway, we moved up this way and we got our furniture in, and it barely made a dent in the space that was in this house. But boy, it did not take very long. It was like, where did all of this stuff come from?
Yeah. Yeah. So, prepping, I look at it like it's intentional and it's organized stockpiling for specific things that we are thinking about. like food, water, tools to handle certain emergencies or do certain things around your property or handle seasonal changes, right? Hoarding, on the other hand, it's just kind of a loosely thrown together idea of collecting a lot of stuff that you think you might need without really any organization. And so when you've got piles of expired food or tools that you'll never use, or things that you bought because you thought, oh, I'm going to need this thing. And next thing you know, you're like, I don't really need that thing. And you don't have any clear plan on what to do with it. You just, maybe someday, you got to ask yourself, are you prepping or are you just hoarding? And I think that the key difference between the two is prepping is more or less kind of strategic and usable, the things that you're getting, and hoarding is basically kind of like just, it's excessive. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes I think it's driven by fear of something's going to happen rather than coming at it from a logical standpoint. And so today, Rebecca decided she was going to go through and went through some of our cupboards and started to look at some of our pantries and do a little bit of pantry management. And so, Rebecca, why is it that you decided to do that? And what did you find in doing so?
Well, it's always good to do this, I would say, at least annually, if not semi-annually. And in my case, I found things that I had in there that were a couple years old. I suppose if we absolutely had to eat it, we could, but we opted not to. It was old. It was probably better not to. Our chickens got it. They enjoyed it. So it did get used, not what we had initially planned for. Mm-hmm. But along that lines, while cleaning out, you also come across things that you actually prepared for better than you had thought you did. Mm. So in my case, I was pickling carrots, and I had run out of the wide mouth lids, not the screw-on part, but the top part. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh man, I went to the store and I forgot. But luckily, I was ahead of myself and actually had a couple boxes that I came across. So that's always a bonus. But then
it pays to be a hoarder.
I was not hoarding.
Yeah. No, that's good.
But there's other things too along that line that you just don't have.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. I mean, certainly the lids, the jar lids, that's a huge purchase. You bought a ton of those back in the day. And so, we go through them, but you found a little bit of a surplus based on that. Mm-hmm. I think the key to all of this is just knowing that, what you have, because when you start to put things in places, unless it's very well organized and you actually go and you look at it from time to time, you just don't even remember you have it. And you're like, oh, there's that. Oh, I forgot I even had that.
I don't necessarily remember how much of what it is that I got, but I'm pretty good at where it is that I put it. I have a pantry in the kitchen, and that's your everyday things you're going to put your hands on that you need. And then we have a closet in the hallway that has canned goods that are going to be used kind of the next in line. And this, where I found these lids, is one that keeps most of my spices. And they're things that are not going to, they're going to last for a long time. They mm-hmm. might have the paper products, they might have toilet paper in them, but they're mm-hmm. Things that I don't necessarily need right now. Mm-hmm. I will need them, but not right now. So they are packed strategically in certain places. And then there are other bins that we have, and that is your long-term, that's your rice and your beans that are going to be in there for years. Yeah. And that's all packed and kind of tucked away.
Yeah. And occasionally we take and look at that too, because those things will lose seal, and we want to make sure that there's been no intrusion mm-hmm. from rodents or any kind of pests or anything like that. So it's just important to, do some pantry management. I will say that we don't exactly have the best best plan for that, so to speak. It's more or less just kind of like, hey, it's time to do that. It's not like we've got it written on a calendar per se, that we do it quarterly or annually or what have you. It's just like, there comes a time where you're like, I got to do something about that. And so today, I think that was that day for you, right?
Yes. Well, we also had a food bank that we were able to go to and get a lot of products from. And some of the stuff we used and some of the stuff was stuff that we just never were going to use.
Right. Yeah, it was more or less, they were giving this food away, and you never know when you might need food, especially when we're going through the pandemic or what have you, and they're talking about supply chains, this and da 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 da, and there's all this weird wackiness happening. And why does this thing keep drooping? This is pissing me off. Sorry, guys. I don't know what's wrong with this damn thing. Sorry.
You just got to droop with it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like,
just keep moving.
It just keeps falling down. But anyhow, yeah. So we got a lot of free stuff from this food bank, and I think at the time it made sense. But as time goes on, you look at the food and you're like, well, this is probably nothing that we're going to eat. We should probably do something with it before it actually gets to a point where we can't even feed it to our chickens or compost it or anything. So again, that was the crux of what we were doing there.
Yeah. And then there's some things where you kind of get used to making your own, in our case, salad dressing.
Mm-hmm.
And I had actually bought salad dressing to have as a backup. And when you go to pull it out and you
realize it's long overdue. Yeah.
Not that it's long overdue, but it doesn't taste as good as it used to prior to making your own.
Right. That's very true. Because the salad dressing that you make is amazing. It's very delicious. And so it's an amazing vinaigrette. And I'm so tuned into it that I can't even, like you said, enjoy having what we used to think was delicious. Mm-hmm. Right. And so that's, I guess, a question for any of you out there. Are you guys at all making any of your own condiments, or making any of your own spices, or making anything that is homemade from that standpoint? Because we've transitioned away from the salad dressing. We're making our own mayonnaise, which is far healthier than what you can buy.
And super easy.
Super easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what is it? It's a cup of oil, and we use avocado oil.
Mm-hmm. An egg.
One egg. And then you've got 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, 1 teaspoon of salt.
And just a little kind of squirt of Dijon mustard.
Dijon mustard and a little cracked pepper. And then you basically use an immersion blender.
But you hold it at the bottom. As it blends, you slowly work your way up.
Yeah.
And it thickens as you bring it up to the top.
Yeah. And that's what we've been using. And I think with some of the extra tomatoes that we've got right now, you're going to be making some ketchup. So, it's all natural stuff that you're making from generally healthier product or something that we're growing here on the farm. And that's, to me, that's what it's like really all about. It's cool to find ways where you can eliminate having to rely on a taco seasoning packet that has a bunch of bullshit in it, and you can make your own taco seasoning and it tastes just as good, and or if maybe better. Right?
Yeah. And it's nice because you can adjust it to how you want it. It's not just buying a packet. You've got everything there. And if you want it to be a little bit spicier, you can go ahead and add that. Say, I want mine mild. I can add my spices to mine and then tweak it a little bit and go ahead. And so it's very versatile.
Versatile?
Versatile.
What's versatile?
Okay. The drugs are still wearing off. That's my excuse. I'm sticking with it.
Yeah. They had you on fentanyl. I looked at the thing, the guy that was signing you out. He's like, hey, here's this is what she was taking, and this is whatever. And I'm looking at it going, they gave my wife fentanyl. That's what the drug addicts in the city are getting. Mm-hmm. So they hooked you up.
They did. I remember you trying to set me up. I remember you putting my shirt on. I don't really remember you putting my pants on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember leaving the hospital, but I do remember you giving me a cup of coffee, and I told you no, I wanted to
throw up.
Yeah, well, I didn't feel so good.
I could tell.
And but it almost felt like they had intubated me because my throat was sore. And so that's why I wanted to go to a coffee shop, because I wanted something cold to sit down on my throat.
Yeah.
I don't know if they did or not.
Yeah.
But that's the way it felt. And so I don't even remember leaving.
That's probably because you were sitting there all slack-jawed and your mouth open, breathing through your mouth.
Yeah.
I don't know if they intubated you. Did they?
I don't know why they would.
They need to tell people what they're going to do to them when they put them out, man.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm going to put you out.
Well, they bring the mask to you.
Yeah.
And they're just breathe, just take a deep breath in.
What she says is only oxygen.
It's only oxygen.
And 3 breaths later, you're done. You don't remember anything. Yeah, it's oxygen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I don't remember the car ride to the coffee shop, but I do remember the girl, and you're saying she just had surgery. I remember that a little bit.
Right.
And then I don't remember going from there to the house. And I don't remember coming in the house.
Yeah. Yeah. The drugs are good.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, what'd you sell? 6 eggs? 6 dozen eggs today?
6 dozen eggs.
So another week of 6 dozen. So that's good. Girls are still producing.
They are.
They're earning their keep, as it were. Well, one of the things that I did today is, I don't know if I told you this, but I planted potatoes today. And typically what I've been doing in years past is I like to get my potatoes in by Labor Day. Well, that's another month out, and nothing wrong with doing that. But what I'm doing this year is I'm planting them a little bit early so I can get the development of my potatoes while we still have some good heat. And, hopefully I can be able to harvest them when they're mature prior to us getting our first hard frost. Because last year and the year prior, I managed to squeak through, but it was the year before that where, you get that hard frost and the potatoes are only 3 months old or 2.5 months old or whatever, 2 3/4. And then it kills them off. It kills off the growth. It doesn't kill the potato. It just kills the growth. And so you wind up leaving them in the ground and then harvesting them in the summer, and you don't get 2 crops. Well, this year I'm going to start a little bit early. So I planted potatoes today. So that's something that if you guys live in an area where similar to ours, where it's more temperate, you might consider now might be a good time to be putting those root vegetables back in the ground. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Don't like that.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, how come you don't plant sweet potatoes?
It's not that I don't, I just haven't here. So you want me to? Sweet potatoes are delicious.
They are.
I can get some slips and see what I can grow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The orange ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the things that I suppose it's not really a mistake, but it was just like an oversight on my part. And it's almost like a waste of time and a waste of effort, because I planted some squash and some beans this year that we haven't even done anything as far as harvesting those and eating them. And so today I was out in the garden working, and I was kind of cleaning up, going through some of that stuff, getting it into the chicken yard. So essentially I planted vegetables for the chickens because we haven't been harvesting and utilizing them. It's not that I don't like those vegetables. It's just that we didn't factor in, or I didn't factor that in to making it a priority to going out there and harvesting it and making it a part of what we eat around here.
Well, they also came, they came in when it was involving the time for your race, then my race, and so we weren't here, and they were getting large.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the crookneck squash was like, I couldn't cut through it.
Yeah, no, I know. There's still some more stuff coming out there. I've got 4 different types of squash growing out there, but it's just I guess my point to this is that make sure that you have a plan for the things that you plant. I think most people do. And I'm probably saying something that most people are going, well, no kidding, dumbass. I do have a plan for the things that I plant. And typically I do as well. But this year, somehow that got ahead of us. And it's just, it's one of those things that you do and you make a mistake or, maybe have an oversight. And yeah, that's important to have a plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. London says that speaking his language, he loves sweet potatoes. Yeah, they're the potato I actually kind of prefer to eat. They're better for you. They're not like starchy like the regular white or yellow or whatever potatoes.
Yeah. So what I do is I actually use what I'm going to make the sweet potato, and then I take 1 crookneck squash and I cut it up, and I do most of it all in the microwave. But that crookneck squash provides the liquid to when you use the immersion blender, just makes nice creamy potatoes, sweet potatoes.
Yeah, no, you make that soup. It's just so delicious, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is, but it's crazy good.
It's an actual corn chowder soup, except for there's no corn.
Thank God, no corn.
I love corn, but anyway, there's no corn. You substitute the what I do is substitute sweet potatoes for the corn, and then I add in beans, white beans, to go along with it, and then it just blends up, and it's this thick, creamy, comfortable, sweet.
Oh, it's such good comfort food. And then you know what she does? She cooks up some bacon and crumbles the bacon over the top of it. It's amazing. Yeah. HRDs, how you doing?
Hello.
And Double A's in the house. How are you? Haven't seen you for a while. Hope things are well with you and yours. So yeah, that was the lesson there. It's just, have a plan. So important to have a plan on anything you do, particularly planting something in your garden. Make sure that it's not only food that you actually like to eat, right?
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't plant okra if you don't like okra.
Yes.
Or plant some weird ass thing that looked cool. But if it's something that you actually eat and then have a plan for it. So a little oversight on our part. It says, have you talked about Theo? Theo, are you, I don't know. Theo what? Theo Vaughn?
I don't know.
I'm not sure what you're referring to, H or D's. If you're referring to us or somebody in the chat, I don't know. I thought that I would tonight add a rodent and pest report to the homestead happenings around here. And the reason why is because I had some person this week who was very cross, very upset with me because of a video that I showed how I trap mice in a bucket, right? And they were just very put off by that. And so I thought it was interesting that the person was mad at me for virtually, essentially eradicating a pest that was on my property, that it was on our property, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not on their property, but it was on our property. And they were mad at me for taking care of something that I view as a pest. And, I always thought that as a homeowner in America, when you pay your property taxes and you have ownership of this plot of land, you kind of get to determine how you manage your property. And so I don't know, Rebecca, what do you think? Should I change my viewpoint on dealing with pests on our homestead based on what this person said, or should I continue to go and do what I do and you do what you do because we actually are homeowners here?
Right. So I would view it as our property, and it should be your right to do what you do on your property.
Right.
If they want to let pests run around and take over their property, that's so be it.
Right. I didn't offer it up to him, but I actually considered replying to him and saying, if you want, I can mail the pest to you if you send me a self-addressed stamped envelope or box. prepaid postage. I'm not that much of an animal lover that I can't eradicate something that's going to be a pest on the property. So this week, I didn't tell you this morning, but I actually got another ground squirrel.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I use the squirrelinator as a trap, which is a really great trap. And I've got some things that I do to make it very enticing for those pain in the ass ground squirrels that like to dig up and excavate under slabs and make voids underground and things like that, right? They got no place here. But for some reason, we've got a lot of them, whereas years ago, we never really saw them much. But they've kind of moved into the area, and I've had to be more aggressive on trapping and shooting these little guys in the head and putting them in a maggot bucket so the chickens can be the beneficiary of their carcass.
Yeah, they love them.
Sounds a little harsh, but sometimes things aren't always like what you see on Instagram when it comes to dealing with things on a homestead. That's my point to this. So
speaking of rodents.
Yes.
So we've actually caught a couple mice as well. And
true story.
And one of them, our daughter happened to be here. And she was not opposed to the mouse being killed, but the trap actually caught it halfway through the body. So it didn't hit any vital organs. So it didn't kill it. And she was very concerned that the mouse was suffering and it needed to be put out of its misery. So it needed to die fast.
Seems like
and not suffer.
That seems reasonable. Yeah.
I know, but it was cute.
Yeah, yeah. She's quite the animal lover, as am I. But certain things they got to go. Hell or high water, they're going. And I also got a gopher this week.
You did?
I did, yeah. So we're constantly working around here to try to handle pests and things that are problematic. I wanted to mention this because this is something that I've done around here for a number of years. When my son turned me on to this pesticide, and it's a pesticide called Talstar. It's actually called Talstar P. And the P stands for the professional version of this Talstar. And what it is it's a synthetic pyrethroid that paralyzes and kills over 70 different insects. It's not going to kill beneficial insects. Like, I'm not going to be spraying this out where I want good things to be, like in my edible landscapes and stuff. They're going to be completely fine. But for things like ants and roaches and like flying things, like I was out spraying and eradicating wasps today because they're in full force out there. I got stung this week just by walking by something, and I didn't see that they had a little nest there, and boom, I got lit up. So
for us, one of the places that they really, really like to build nests are in the ladder to the slide for the pool.
Oh gosh. Yeah, our grandson got stung the other day when he was up there. Hey, I'm going to go off the slide, and he got lit up. So again, we like our nature. We like wildlife, right? But there are certain things that just have to go. And as a homesteader, as a homeowner, I think we all, generally speaking, have the right to kill a spider, to take care of a mouse that's in our house causing destruction, or gophers, or any of that sort of thing. So I guess that's the end of the pest report for this week. But
unfortunately, they really like dog food.
Yeah, they like everything that they can pack off to their little burrows.
Yes, we have to be very diligent in picking up our dog's dog bowl and putting it in a container in the evening.
Yeah.
Because one of the main things. We're pretty good about having everything that we have pretty much in containers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a constant battle. If we were
Yeah.
gone for a week, we'd come back and this place would be probably shit running around in here, you know? That's what happens. We need more cats, guys.
we do. We need ones that are feral and don't want to be held. I love cats. I would love to hold them, but it never seems to work out that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they have to be feral cats that don't want to be held and just want to run around out in the field and
Yeah.
catch themselves some good things to eat.
Sure. Well, I had put out a poll last week, and I was interested to know from folks that wanted to participate in the poll. I asked the question, which skill would you most like to master in your preparedness journey? Because I think we're all, to some extent, on some form of a preparedness journey, whether we believe we are or not. We all are stockpiling and doing different things. So that kind of makes you a prepper by default. But I gave it like a choice between growing yourself a self-sufficient garden or foraging or wildcrafting. And so the third choice was basically other. You know, you didn't want either of those two things. And I encouraged folks to share their favorite skill in the comments. But 94 folks cast their vote. And the choice that came out on top was growing a self-sufficient garden, with 68% of the respondents voting for that. And 24% thought that foraging or wildcrafting. And then 7% was other. And so I wanted to kind of go over some of the comments that people left. Annie Bancroft, 1175, said, I would like to master chicken composting system. I very much appreciate your videos on this. And yeah, I would just say with all of that, try something and see what works for you in whatever context you hope to set up. You know, what I do is probably a lot different than what other people might come up with. They can maybe use that sort of thing as a rough template, but there's a lot of different ways to build and make compost. And so, yeah, give it a shot, Annie. That sounds like something that, you know, would be certainly a valuable skill to master. Building soil is huge, in my opinion. Somebody else, can't even really say the name, but DZIK Kiwo Grosity. That's quite the name there.
That works for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Said also canning and storing the crops to beat the hungry gap. Again, that's something that you've learned over the years, Rebecca, and it's great, right? Canning, taking something and then preparing it for storage and being able to use it throughout the winter, moving into the next season. That's a huge skill.
It's really nice to be able to do that and not have to rely on the store. For us, for the most part, it carries us quite a ways. There's always a little bit of a gap where we do have to go and purchase things from the store. But it's usually not too long. And then the whole process kind of starts all over again. Might be different products, but at least they're items that you can consume and we can can.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a huge skill. Rod Jindrisic, 3444, said that was a tough one for him to pick a single area of mastery. Self-sufficient garden is something that you have control over. Many foraged foods have a higher nutritional value than domesticated plants. However, you are not likely going to have much control there, and abundance or dependability is not as guaranteed. The nutritional gap is narrowed by keeping a living soil as you are doing. Yeah, thanks for the comment. That's very astute of you to look at it in that way. I think when I was, I guess, putting this poll out, you know, both have their place, right? If you're somebody who's going to be a settler
Mm-hmm.
and be in an area, then the garden to me makes the most sense. And that's what I would have chosen personally, is mastering how to grow food in a particular location. However, from the standpoint of the doomsday prepper, or the person that's going to be on the move that might want to bug out or live on the land and get up doing whatever, right? It might be a more valuable consideration to be able to be mobile and just go out in the woods and figure out what you can eat. And I mean, you can also forage on your own property. So I'm not saying that those that chose foraging were specifically thinking along those lines, but you could draw those two distinctions between the two different food sources.
Yeah, I myself would probably go for the self-sufficient garden, as opposed to what'd you call it, the wild.
Yeah, just basically foraging. So until lambs become lions, said, this was their response, said, begging and stealing. Just kidding. Sadly, that is going to be a lot of people, though. I'm going for the jack of all trades: composting, gardening, growing fruit trees, hunting, fishing, and lastly, foraging. I think being able to make good quality compost takes the cake, though. Yeah, there's a lot to be said about learning how to take care of your soil and feed the soil life within the soil.
Mm-hmm.
That all comes from developing that basis of fertility that can feed the microorganisms within the soil. So, I mean, that should be fairly high if you're looking to actually, if you're looking to, grow your food, just have that understanding. So I agree with you on that. But begging and stealing, that's that might work too, depending on the scenario. James Dean says claymore mine. I'm not sure what that means. I know what a claymore mine is, but I'm not sure what he was intending to say there. Hogs14 chimed in and says handyman type stuff, able to fix anything. Yep. CFA Ciara 4005 said welding. Now that's a valuable skill.
Mm-hmm.
It's a valuable skill. But for me, I wouldn't think that would be above.
It doesn't feed you, though.
No, it doesn't feed you. You can't eat 60-13 rod and get too much nutrition out of it. Or sniff some acetylene, But no, welding's a great skill. I mean, that would be something, if you want to learn it, go on and try to learn how to, bind metal together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's great. And Lance Pierce said, electrical engineer to better my skills in rerouting energy to beneficial areas of my homestead. Yeah, that's probably pretty huge too. If you had that ability.
Yeah, I would say all of them are valuable.
Sure. I think those electrical engineer types, kind of like your Thomas Massey's, that's what he is by trade. I mean, just like nerdy, super smart,
mm-hmm.
and can come up with very creative ways to deal with problem solving through engineering. That's a pretty cool thing to be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be able to do the first thing about what that guy could do. But if you had those skills, man, you could do a lot on a homestead.
Yeah.
Solar, all of that. So I guess I wanted to kind of switch gears here, Rebecca, and I guess clean up some loose ends from last week's live stream, where we talked about Trump and his administration and some of the things that maybe we weren't so happy about. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to pile on to that, but I want to also caveat what I'm going to say with the understanding that I'm willing personally to be more patient with Trump and his policies when we're talking economically moving forward. And the reason why I say that is because in order for his policies to be successful his economic policies to be successful, he's going to need, I think, in my opinion, more time. Because when you start to take a cruise ship and to switch gears and go 180 degrees, it's going to take some time for that thing to actually respond and start going the other way. And, he's dramatically and radically changed a lot of the economic policies with regard to trade and tariffs and things like that. So I think he's just going to need some more time.
You love that fly.
I'm telling you, dude. There's always one. So I don't want to have some unrealistic expectation that, inside of 6 months, things that he's been doing is going to be this great windfall for the country. So I'm personally going to give him another 6 months. Let me see if I can do this. I missed him. Sorry, I missed him. I had to give it a shot. I'm going to give him another 6 months on the economic stuff. And I think actually I'll start getting concerned if in another 6 months the economy doesn't really dramatically start to show some improvement from his policies that he's been putting in place. But I think what's really going to be the key is when we get to the midterms, if things aren't shaping up, it's going to be more than a bloodbath for the Republicans. So that's going to be the real key to the mood of what people feel like the electorate going back to support, hey, because here's the reason why is because the average person, I'm telling you, the freaking fly, the average person they're going to largely judge the success of any president based on how well the economy is doing, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't know. What do you think?
I think that he's got a plan of how he wants to turn things around. And I think in his heart, he definitely wants to turn things around and he wants to do the best thing for everyone. If he is successful, that would be great.
Right.
And I'm hoping that he is.
Same.
So I'm not necessarily, putting him down for that.
I'm not putting him down for that either. I believe that if Trump's policies are successful, the rest of us in this country are going to be successful. In fact, a lot of the other countries that get goods and services from this country and are beneficiaries of trade and everything else are going to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
Despite what people might have you believe, our neighbors, Canada and Mexico, will be more successful if the United States is more successful. So, I mean, that's what I'm hoping for. I'm not rooting against him by no stretch of the imagination, because I'd be rooting for, our own failing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't know. I think that, is right now, there's a lot of people out there who are making big strides in kind of a down economy, if you will, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to have that in every instance. Every time there's a down economy, there's going to be those outliers, those people who are go-getters that are going to find a way to capitalize on things when they're not great. But that's not the average citizen. The average citizen is going to be kind of waiting for, hey, when's things going to get better so that I can go out and maybe spend some more money, or I get more wages from whoever I'm working for, or what have you, or maybe gas prices don't impact me as much. But I think that stuff is still really very out there and prevalent for everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like things are better here in economically
I don't feel like they're better economically, but I'm not necessarily seeing anything grow. It's just kind of stagnant at where it's at. And again, and I have nothing to back this up, but I feel that he is putting his all into it and trying to fulfill those campaign promises that he put out there. But he has people fighting him at every turn, and he's got to figure out, and it, obviously is slowing down the progress.
Right. So, basically with regard to the economy, there's like 5 different economic indicators that people generally look at. And, first is the GDP, gross domestic product, which is like how much the country is producing, right? Versus how much is going out. And if the GDP is growing, the economy is usually in good shape. If it's shrinking, then that's kind of a red flag. And so, man, I'm telling you, dude, I'm getting irritated with that. I'm sorry. Second is the unemployment rate. We all know what that means, but generally speaking, if it's below like 4 or 5%, then it's generally good. And I think with Trump right now, I think that it's like around 4.1. So that's not bad, but it's not, it's not great. I think that's probably one of the better numbers he has economically. The inflation rate, there's also the consumer confidence index and the stock market. And a lot of that stuff has basically been kind of flat to maybe even down a little bit. So there's not been any, dramatic improvement or really any huge crash other than the stock market's down since Trump came in office, like 5 to 6%. But I don't know. We'll just kind of have to see how things play out economically. But I did want to kind of clean that up a little bit from what we talked about last week.
Yeah, he definitely talked about things that I have voiced to you many times. And that, of course, that is the welfare and people receiving more handouts, the more children that they have, and the amount of time that they can live on the welfare. To me, that should be taken away.
Yeah.
Not that we shouldn't have welfare, but there should be an end to it. There should be a time limit that, hey, for the first 6 months, we're going to do this. You're going to be looking for a job. You're going to prove that you're looking for a job. After 6 months, it's going to be cut by 10%.
How much of that stuff do you think is just kind of like throwing it out there to say, this is what I'm going to do, and we'll fight it out in the courts. We'll fight it out legally. We'll see if it actually gets passed into legislation. I mean, he's just throwing a lot of stuff out there that really hasn't been codified into law. And so I get it. I get it. He's trying to fulfill a lot of promises, but again, we talked about it last week where he's kind of missing some big ones, the whole corruption thing that he's not going after. And here's the other thing to think about with regard to the whole, like, oh, I'm going after Comey and Brennan. Now he's talking about Obama, right? Tulsi came out and talking about Obama and we're going to do this or that. They're not going to do a damn thing. They're really not. They had all those people up there talking about Biden and the auto pen and did you know he was cognitively deficient? Oh, I'm going to plead the Fifth Amendment. They're waiting for somebody to give them something, but the fact is nobody's giving them nothing, and they're not going to get anything, even with a subpoena. Mark my words. There will be no buddy paying for this. Maybe a token somewhere, but all the people that should be held to account will not be held to account.
I guess I'm hopeful.
I hope you're right. I'm just not that hopeful. Maybe I'm just trying to prepare myself for the inevitable, which is going to be a huge letdown.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyhow. So what else did you want to talk about, Rebecca? I've been doing all the talking over here.
You have not been doing all the talking.
Most of the talking. What do you want to talk about?
I know you like to talk.
No, I don't. Not really. Let's go ahead and
So you're preparing for another race coming up in October.
Correct.
Yes. It's called the Javelina.
Yeah.
And it's around Halloween time.
Right.
Some people run that race in costume, which I find absolutely amazing that they could even do that. But you have issues with that race in the fact that when we ran it the first time, it was a lot less expensive. Yes, I said that right the first time. And you didn't get charged for parking. This time around, it costs a lot more. They're charging for parking. They're charging for parking a car. They're charging for parking an RV.
Yeah.
And in this case, we were not able to get a spot for the RV.
Right.
So that leaves you with a decision. If somebody is going to not show up and possibly open up one of those spots, where do you stand on that?
Well, I'm going to keep trying to pursue to see if we can get a parking spot because I would like to run that race. But it's essentially 16 weeks out from now. And whatever it is, if I run that race, fine. If not, I got basically, I was offered a free entry for a race in November. That's a 100-miler. That's here locally that I've run 2 times before, but I've also run this race once before too. So it would just be making that change. But yeah, things have changed, right? Mm-hmm. There's people making more money in the industry and they've decided to raise their costs and it's a little bit more grandiose and, is what it is. So, yeah. What else?
Well, I wanted to run that race as well. However, it is kind of a first come, first serve. Mm-hmm. You got in. I didn't. Right. I ran it one time when we didn't have to pay for the parking. It's kind of cool. It's in the desert. I think we've talked about it before with the tarantulas and rattlesnakes and other little goodies that you can come across. So this time around, if you run it, I actually will be with the dog kind of cheering you on.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
At the turnaround. Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see. But what is the one in December? So that what you said, November?
Yeah, Rio del Lago.
Okay.
Yeah, down around Sacramento area. So anyhow,
okay.
I think we're going to probably wrap it up tonight. So unless you have something else you would like to charm the audience with, I think we're going to call it an evening. We've got some chores remaining out that we need to do. And I think I'm getting hungry. What about you?
I'm getting hungry as well. I would say continue to keep your preps up. Surprise yourself when you think you don't have something and you actually have something in backup. That's always happy. Makes me happy, I should say.
It makes you happy?
It makes me happy when I think, oh man, I forgot to buy that. And I come across and I'm like, yes, I prepared better than I should.
Yeah.
So I would say keep that up. Don't be a hoarder, but keep yourself prepared with all sorts of things. And always keep in mind the things you need to have for long-term, short-term, immediate, and anything in between.
Yes. Yeah. Let me leave you with this, guys. This is a quote, liberal or conservative, Rebecca. And you'll have to act like you don't know who this came from. So just based on the quote, what do you think it is? Liberal or conservative? And this is a pretty good quote, I think.
Yeah.
It says, folks are usually about as happy as they make their minds up to be. Liberal or conservative?
I would say conservative.
Correct. An optimist. Somebody who's happy about the potential for being optimistic, having the glass half full rather than glass half empty.
Well, in every bad, there's always something good. And so instead of always focusing on what the bad thing is that's happening, it's better to look at the positive thing that is happening, because there's always a positive. Things could always be worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know what it's going to be worse is it's going to be worse for that fly when we get off of this live stream. he just landed on your head, and I was about ready to swat at him, but I thought, no, I wouldn't do that to you. But anyhow, that quote came from one Abraham Lincoln, great president, great Republican president who freed the slaves. So we're going to leave it at that, guys. And we thank you for joining us this week. We hope to be back next week because you never know what can happen in between now and 7 days from now. So with that, we are going to drop out and leave you with this. Homesteading is not harmful content, and go out tomorrow and be better than you were today.
And hopefully my hands won't look like Frankenstein next week.
Right on.